We're going to work with effects and effects controls here. So what I want to do is I actually want to just put a image on top like it's B-roll. And what we want to do is we want to create a Burns effect where it feels like it's moving in and out a little bit. So let's just go to images in that folder and I'll just pull this one up here and just drag it anywhere on your timeline, and we have an image of a dog here. And let's just say that we want it, right now it's really stagnant and it's sort of boring. But what if we wanted to move it a little bit? Well, one, let's make sure that we select our actual image and make sure your time indicator is on top of it. And let's go to effects controls here. All right. So what you have here, we have our image here, and as I move it, you can see that once it's selected, you can see that the time indicator shows it over here. And this is our controls here. So what I can do is, yes, I can control its position, I can move it up and down, left and right. But really, the power here, and this works for all of these, we're not going to go through every single one, but scale is what we want to work with. So let's say we want this to sort of zoom in a little bit where we get closer to the dog. Well, we need to end up saving this. All right. So let's bring our time indicator over here to the beginning. All right. So what we want to do is we want to save this spot. This is where we want to actually start. So my time indicator is here. And what I'm going to do is under scale, I'm going to hit the stopwatch. All right. And you'll notice that a keyframe was added. It's hard to see, but it's right there. All right. So we saved the position of our animation, and this is great. All right. So what we want to do next is the biggest principle in animation is time. So I want to take my time indicator and I'll just move it all the way to the end a little bit. Let me go back. Make sure this is selected. And we'll bring it here. And what I'm going to do is now all I need to do is go in and resize this. So I can zoom in a little bit like that. So now it adds two keyframes, 1 and 2. So now if I hit play,
logistics of living with so many dogs. It's a little bit like boot camp.
You can see that now it zooms in and zooms out. So if you ever where it goes off, just go back to your clip and make sure you have it selected. All right. Make sure the time indicator is there and it pops right back up. All right. So let's do one more. Let's say we wanted to rotate. Not that I would really want this to rotate here, but let's say I did. So we'll start at the beginning and let's hit the stopwatch. All right. And then now what I'm going to do is let's move our timeline. Remember, the biggest principle in animation is time. And let's just say I drag this a couple times here. You'll see that now that is saved. So if I hit play,
logistics of living with so many dogs.
it's zooming in and zooming out. All right, so that's how you can create the Burns effect. Now you do not want to overdo this. All right. Now effects controls are different from effects themselves. All right. So you control effects. Now these are standard effects that controls that come with anything. So any footage or anything like that, you can see if I select different things, it still has those properties there. Well, what happens if I want to actually add an effect? And then you go in and you can add controls here. So let's click on the effects tab here. And one of the biggest effects, and I'm not going to go through all of these. I mean, there's a ton. But you don't, for a basic class like this, you don't need to know all of them. And honestly, the best effect is no effect, honestly. But I do want to show you this where you can fade in and out So let's say at the beginning, you've all seen that where the movie comes in and it fades in. It's from black and it fades in. Well, this is found under video transitions. So let's click on video transitions. And then let's go to the dissolve folder. All right. And the main one that you'll see is the cross dissolve. So if I click on cross dissolve, I'm going to click and hold, and I'm just going to drag it. And I just clicked on this little icon, the square that's there. Now let's just drag this over to our clip. So on V1, let's go in and just drag it there and let go. And what you'll see is that as I hit play, it fades from black and fades in a little bit. So the thing about this is you may want this to last a little longer. Well, how do you do that? Well, let's hit plus on the keyboard and you'll see that this cross dissolve is found here. And once I hover over it and I move all the way to the end, we get that bracket again. And by brackets, we know that that means we're dragging, and we can drag this a little bit here. And if I let go,
And then
you'll see that cross dissolve lasted a lot longer. Now you don't need to cross dissolve between every single shot. Save it for when you're starting your actual video and you're ending it. You don't want to put it in between shots, which you can, but I hate when you all do that because you overdo it and it looks really, really bad. So never do that. It's never a really good thing to do. So stay away from using cross dissolves all the time. Use it in the way that I did, where we can fade in
then
our
sometimes
footage. So let's say I wanted to fade it out. I can click and drag my cross dissolve over here. Let go.
training if somebody's new and just getting it.
And it fades out. All right, so simple techniques, but just make sure that you're using them effectively.